Heike Heemann is the president of IdeaShare Business Coaching. She helps executives and business owners achieve their personal best at work and beyond. And this can include everything, including improving their leadership skills, their public speaking skills, updating a marketing strategy, creating and achieving personal goals, and a whole lot more. She also serves as an accountability partner, confidential sounding board, and also support to ensure implementation and execution. Like you, she's experienced the choices and challenges of using social media effectively, and that's going to be part of the topic that we're going to be discussing today. She's got over 2 decades of business experience and years on social media. She's happy to share what she's learned. In particular, we're going to be discussing LinkedIn today. She's an avid networker and connector both online and in person. She regularly introduces people to others who may be a good professional match. She likes connecting people like me, and she has a LinkedIn network of over 6,800 connections. She runs a LinkedIn group that has over 4,200 members, and we will tell our listeners how they can contact her at the end of our interview today. Heike, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
I'm so glad to be connected with you, and I'm so glad to have you on the program today. I told you when we were talking before we did the show that I had not met anybody previously who was a LinkedIn expert. So what makes LinkedIn so important for us as business people?
To me, there are a variety of reasons why LinkedIn should be in everyone's toolkit. Number one, I think it's, if you will, the Google for people. It's a great search engine for competitive research, for trying to find clients, for trying to find vendors or hiring candidates, or for that matter, for anyone who isn't at the very end of their career to find a next role that they want to fulfill. It's where your professional reputation lives. Where you can outline above and beyond the length of a standard resume, where you can include volunteer opportunities, skills that are possibly peripheral to a job, but also where your recommendations live from people that have worked with you. And that's the one thing that I think really sets this platform apart. It's, in a way, one matter of eliminating having to do a whole lot of calling around, for instance, if you're hiring someone, because you already have the recommendations right there on the profile. And that's really one of the big benefits of LinkedIn, besides the fact that it's a blogging platform. You can do messaging, stay in contact with people. How many people change jobs and you have their old business cards and you no longer know how to get a hold of them? Well, if you're connected on LinkedIn, you can still reach out to them because hopefully they've connected more than one email to their profile.
Yeah, you've still got their old business email and they've moved on. What about drawbacks or misperceptions?
Some people think LinkedIn is just for job seekers, and it's really a lot more. And obviously, we're all living with a lot of time constraints. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. Yes, it's a platform like any other where there is some correlation between how much time you put into it and how much results you get out of it. But you can use LinkedIn on your app on the phone while you're waiting for your dental appointment, or while you're watching your kid's soccer game and they have, a break or something like that. So it doesn't have to interfere with your life, and you can still get a lot done.
I just had a brainstorm, and I wish I would have thought of this prior to having you on. But what I should have done, and maybe what we'll do sometime down the road, is I should have had my LinkedIn profile pulled up here and had you tell me everything that's wrong with it and and how I could improve it. Because that's kind of my next question is, what are the things that people most often need to improve in their LinkedIn profile?
The overall issue with most profiles is that they're not complete. But if you don't want to take the time right off the bat to fill out the whole thing, which can be a little overwhelming, I would suggest at least filling out the very top section. So having a great picture, and no, it shouldn't be one with your trophy fish. It should be a professional headshot. Having your contact information filled out, which granted lives behind the scenes, but everyone that's connected with you can at least see your email address, your phone number, and then your headline. That's one of those overlooked components of a profile. It defaults to your current job description. So if you are a CEO, it'll say CEO of XYZ company. But you have about 200 characters where you can get creative. So if you wanted to look up my profile, it has a lot more in the headline than just president of IdeaShare Business Coaching. It has speaker, it has LinkedIn trainer. So you can add things that would give someone a reason to reach out to you.
So are there things that would cause somebody not to contact you or want to connect with you if they're not there? Are there things that cause people to be suspicious or say, I'm not going to connect with that person, they don't have this filled out?
It can be. If someone doesn't fill out their profile, it could come across as spammy. There are, unfortunately, people that steal photographs off of a online magazine or something like that and create a fake profile. So the more filled out your profile is, the more likely it's a true profile. And what really sets that apart is if you have some actual recommendations you've received and some that you've given. That gives it more legibility. It makes it more legit because it now ties you to other people that can vouch for you.
So what if I've never really met this person before? They just look like somebody I'd like to have in my network, or they look like somebody who I think I could maybe help or could help me down the road, but I've never really met them in person. Would you recommend accepting an invitation from someone like that?
I would. LinkedIn doesn't want you to. LinkedIn's premise is that your network on LinkedIn should only be people you've met and worked with. So not your mom or your sister, unless they truly know how you are in a work context. However, the people that use LinkedIn have evolved beyond that. And so, yes, absolutely. I have a lot of people in my network that I have never personally met and maybe not even had a conversation with on the phone, but I might want to learn more about what they share on LinkedIn, or yes, I may want to reach out to them for some reason. Now, that said, if you send an invitation out, pretty much in 99% of the cases, you should customize your invitation. Don't just use the prefab text that LinkedIn gives you. Let people know how you met or why it is that you think a connection would be helpful. And then the next step, after someone accepts your connection or after you accept someone else's connection, would be to send a reply. Why did you reach out to me? Or thanks for connecting with me. Would you like to have a conversation or a cup of coffee? Just make sure that that next contact isn't a sales pitch.
Yeah, I will reach out a lot of times when someone asks me to connect, and I'll say, I'm just curious why you wanted me as a connection or something like that, you know.
That's a great way to do it. Absolutely. Most people just reach out, connect with people, and then you never hear from them again. It's a wasted opportunity because to me, it's a beginning of a conversation that could turn into a long-term business relationship. You never know. They might not be in a profession that is a potential client or vendor for you, but their sister might be, their neighbor, the person they just had coffee with. So don't just discount someone because you've not met or because they aren't immediately a potential client for you.
So I walked into this conference that I was speaking at the other day, and I'd never spoken there before, and I didn't know any of the organizers. But I walked up to the registration table, and the lady stuck out her hand, and she said, "Oh, you must be Tony." I said, I'm just curious, how do you know that? And she goes, "Oh, I recognize you from your profile picture." I said, "Oh, well, that's wonderful, because I took that picture in 2009, and I'm glad I still look like that, you know."
Lucky you.
I want to ask you about this profile photo for LinkedIn, which is the same one I still use. But Any tips on making sure that that's right for that platform?
It should be a professional photo, preferably with you showing your teeth. So in other words, it's not the picture at the beach. It's not the picture that you cut out of a wedding lineup or something of that sort. It should be high enough quality to where if people click on it, they can actually enlarge it. And those are the biggest parameters. And then, of course, if you've changed, you should update your pictures. That could be you went from having a beard to no beard, glasses to no glasses, or vice versa. You changed your hair color. Those changes should really be reflected on the picture to make sure that someone can recognize you at an event.
I had a coach one time who, this has been quite some time ago, but he recommended to all of his clients that they should change something about their appearance every 3 or 4 years. Like they ought to get a different hairstyle, or they ought to have facial hair or not have facial hair, or maybe go from beard to goatee to clean shaven. So I'm glad you said that, because if you follow that advice, you definitely want to update your profile picture, but definitely not a selfie, right?
Correct. Not a selfie, unless that is, you have to put this profile up right now for some reason, and then just replace it as quickly as possible. The other thing I want to point out is that your photo is only visible if you haven't altered the standard settings behind the scenes. LinkedIn will allow you to set your profile picture to completely private or to only visible to people you're already connected with. If you have a profile picture that's visible to all, you actually increase the likeliness that someone will click through to your profile text by 14%, by 14 times, according to LinkedIn's own statistics.
So what are some things that people just overlook that they perhaps should not, as far as their profile on LinkedIn?
Well, one of them I mentioned already, and that's really important, is the headline. Because if somebody does a search for, let's say, a CPA in their town, there will be 15 CPAs, 20, 30 CPAs that show up. What sets you apart that you can put in those 200 characters of your headline that says more than just CPA? The other thing would be, as I said, to put the profile picture to public. You might want to also put your email, professional email that is, and a phone number into your summary. Can be at the end of it, but at least it's somewhere in the text, because only the people that you're connected with already can see that contact information if you don't post it somewhere else. And if someone's already gone through the trouble of doing a search and found you, you don't want to make it more difficult for them to take the next step and actually contact you.
So let's educate our listeners on some LinkedIn etiquette. And I don't know about you, but I typically want to know what are the things I don't need to do. Like, if I sit down at a dinner with somebody, tell me the main things I don't need to do, because I am probably going to do them. So on LinkedIn, what are some things we should not do?
For starters, don't put your birthday on it. It's like other profiles in other platforms. They want more information, which may be helpful to people that are doing phishing attempts, but there's no point in you having your birthday on LinkedIn. Don't treat it like Facebook. You don't need to, explain your vacation or show some very personal pictures. It's a professional network. That doesn't mean you can't say, hey, I won the golf tournament. That's great, and it's a conversation starter, but don't go to the level that a Facebook would go into. And don't set it up and then ignore it. You want it at least every couple of weeks, be on it and post something, like somebody else's posts, comment somewhere, because LinkedIn works like a Google. Activity counts. And you want to be showing up in the top of a search result, especially if you have a more common name. I mean, if somebody can get a couple of letters of my name right, they'll find me, because I'm literally the only one with this name. But with someone that is a John Smith, there are probably thousands of John Smith. And amongst them, you probably have, let's say, hundreds of CPAs. So what sets you apart? the activity level and how much you filled out your profile.
So, you know, I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people are familiar with Facebook. Do you find that people on LinkedIn try to treat LinkedIn like Facebook? Like, do they try to use it the same way?
Very few do. To me, that's a rare thing, other than sometimes with the picture, which is very surprising to me. But that's why I mentioned the cutout of the wedding photo or the trophy fish.
Well, I was just thinking, you know, you got the status update, you got the like button, and, you know, those things are kind of similar.
That functionality is absolutely similar, and it helps with interaction. That's why both platforms use that same format.
So I've got my profile all lined out. What's next?
Well, you need to stay active, and that can include a whole variety of things. On the public front, obviously, you can post something that's similar to a blog. You can post notifications about events or helpful tips. If you're an expert, let's say on resume writing, you could say, you know, what is the latest format change that's now being used? Obviously, liking other people's posts. But then behind the scenes, there's this messaging app where you can reach out to your contacts and congratulate them to a career milestone or an anniversary, or you can reach out and say, hey, can you connect me or introduce me to such and such? They're in your network and I'm trying to reach out to them, but I don't know how to get a hold of them. So there's a lot of usefulness to what's not visible.
So, what about, do you feel like, let's talk about in-person networking and then networking on LinkedIn. Do you find that a lot of people have ditched their traditional printed business card and they just get out their smartphone device and they connect on LinkedIn right there? Or how do you combine meeting somebody and networking and LinkedIn all together?
To the first part of your question, I still go to quite a few networking events in person, and people still have business cards, and I think that's still very useful. In fact, I occasionally take notes on business cards so I know what to follow up on, especially if I am at an event where I may meet multiple people, 5, 10 people. After a while, the faces and comments start to get mixed up. So business cards are great as long as they have some white space to take some helpful notes. And you can put your LinkedIn address, your URL, right on the business card if you want to. What I do to combine the two is, number one, my email signature includes a phrase along the lines of active on LinkedIn, let's connect, and then my LinkedIn URL so they can reach out. But I then also often follow up with an email after a networking event and say, it's great to meet you at such and such event. Would you like to connect on LinkedIn if you're active there? And you get a conversation started. Ultimately, in person or online, regardless, it's all about getting a conversation started and then keeping it going.
I love it. So obviously LinkedIn would like everyone to have a paid membership, but I'm curious about your thoughts on a free account everyone can get versus signing up for a paid account.
The free accounts have a lot of functionality that most people never exhaust. You can get a lot done with a free account if you use it properly. And the paid accounts are pretty expensive. So it depends on what exactly your goal is on LinkedIn and how you want to pursue that goal. I've built a 6,000 plus network with a free account. And I've gotten clients there for LinkedIn reviews, for speaking opportunities, for coaching. So there's a lot you can do if you know how and if you implement. The paid accounts are great for some people that have specific niches. Recruiters, for instance, there's a special recruiting functionality, and I would think that most recruiters have to have the paid account. But it'll also pay off for them because they can contact more people in a month than your standard user can. So it really depends on what you want to do with it, how much time you're willing to spend on it. It's useless to have a paid account if you get online to do something on LinkedIn for 15 minutes a month. It's wasted money.
So we're speaking with Heike Heemann. She is a LinkedIn expert. She's a business coach and executive coach that does workshops teaching people specifically how to get more use from LinkedIn and how to market themselves professionally using their LinkedIn account. And Heike, is there anything I should have asked you about LinkedIn that I haven't asked?
Good question. Good question. I would say the primary thing is figure out what your goal is with the platform and make sure that you get some recommendations that are more than just Harry is a great guy and Sally did a great job. Something where somebody really writes a paragraph, because that ultimately is the credibility for your next step. But overall, I think we covered a lot. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, feel free to connect with me directly. If you just start typing in my name, you'll find me. It's Heike. Last name is Hee, M as in Mary, A, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy. And you'll be able to find me, and feel free to reach out and mention this podcast.
Wonderful. Heike, I really appreciate you being on the program, and I really appreciate our relationship, and thank you for being a friend.
Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate it, and have a fabulous day.
Receive weekly coaching tips from Tony Richards, delivered straight to your inbox. Whether you're a CEO or an entrepreneur, Tony can help you reach your goals and give you a competitive edge within your industry. Tony's Monday Morning Coaching Memo covers topics ranging from leadership development to teamwork to company culture and more. Text the word leadership to 38470 to sign up for Tony's Monday Morning Coaching Memo, or sign up online at clearvisiondevelopment.com.